Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, an audio drama by StoryNori.com with the voices of Natasha Gostwick, Richard Scott and Sam Freeman. Part 1.
The story that you are about to hear was all my doing. I wished it. I willed it. I spelled it. So listen well, little ones, for I am Morgan Le Fay, the sorceress no less, the queen of the Welsh witches and the enchanting enemy of King Arthur. I worked out these wonders because my womanly heart demanded an answer to a question. What is it that makes a man? Is it valour in battle? Is it a tongue that speaks true? Or is it a way with words that sways the ladies? And what beasts must a true knight slay? Serpents that breathe fire, or demons that whisper desire? And so I sought to test a man. Not just any puny little man, but the finest fellow who rode a horse since Felix Brutus left behind the flaming city of Troy and founded the race of brawling, warring, strife-loving men that are known as the Britons. The most famous among the Britons is Arthur, their king. But the noblest, the knight who perfectly combines courtesy and valour, whose every word, whose every gesture is governed by the courtly code of chivalry, is not the king himself, but his nephew, Sir Gawain. If he cannot pass the test that I set, then no man can. It is Christmas. Picture the splendid scene at Camelot Castle. The lords and ladies who gather at Arthur's court are the best in the kingdom. The men are handsome, the women are pretty. All are carefree and gay. They celebrate the festive season with games and jousting, dancing and carol singing. You can hear their noisy noels from 10 miles away. For a full 15 days they celebrate until, at last, a shiny new year is about to be born. After Mass in the chapel, the noble lords hold up New Year gifts in their hands. The ladies play guessing games for the prizes and laugh out loud even when they lose and have to forfeit a kiss. Such were the scenes that led up to dinner time. As the feast began, King Arthur took his place on the high table. All around were noble knights and fair ladies, and Queen Guinevere sat in their midst. Silks shimmered and jewels sparkled, but the brightest gems were the Queen's shining eyes. Trumpets and drums heralded the courses. I will not describe the sumptuous dishes that were laid before them, and as you can well imagine, no one lacked anything. All I will note is that King Arthur sat still. He did not lift a morsel to his mouth, for it was his custom not to eat on such occasions until he had seen or heard tell of something wonderful, and that is when I sent my creature in. My man rattled the door and came clattering into the hall on his horse. He was a giant, a man-mountain, but although his shoulders and chest were as broad and square as battlements, his waist was boyishly slender. He was the biggest, but also the most handsome of men. The gaze of every lord and lady was upon him. And what amazed them most was that every aspect of the man was bright green. His tunic and his fur-trimmed cloak were green, his leggings the same, his hands were green, his face was green, his beard and long flowing hair were as green as grass. His eyes were like emeralds, and his horse, you've guessed it, was a good shade of green. In one hand he held a sprig of green holly. In the other a monstrous, fearsome green axe. Its head was a yard wide. Yet he wore no armour, nor carried any other weapon. The green axeman rode into the hall and headed for the high table. When at last he spoke, this is what he said.
Who is the governor of this gang? I wish to set eyes on his face and speak with him.
He cast his gaze on the knights and looked them up and down as he studied their faces and considered who was the most renowned of them all. And they looked back at him, and the longer they looked at him, the greener he seemed to grow. No one spoke a word. I would not put their silence down to fear, for here in the hall sat the bravest knights in all Christendom. Rather, let us say, it was courtesy that held down every tongue, until at last Arthur saluted the visitor and greeted him thus.
Sir, you are welcome here. Please dismount from your horse and join us at this feast.
No, so help me. I do not invite myself to your table. I am no gate-crasher. And by the sign of this stick of holly you may be sure that I come in peace. See, I wear civilian clothes. Had I war on my mind, I would have come differently dressed. At home I have a sharp spear and a shining helmet, but your fame and your love of thrill draws me here at this merry time of year. The greatest knights in all Christendom celebrate in this hall. All I ask is that one step forward and join me in a game. A Christmas contest, shall we say. A spot of sport.
Sir, courteous knight, if it is single combat that you seek, you will not fail to find a fight here.
I tell you in good faith, I came to this court in search of some festive fun. It is the very season for games. If there is any lad in here so bold in his heart, so thoughtless in his head that he will trade me one blow for a blow, then I will give him this axe as a prize. It is great and heavy, and he may do with it what he pleases. I shall grant his blade first strike against my bare neck. I shall stand here and not flinch. He may cut with all his force, but only once. If anyone will do me this favour, let him step forward. All I ask is a single strike on the same terms. There will be no rush to claim my right. I will wield my return cut a year and a day from now. Come. Such silence. Does anyone have anything to say?
If they were stunned before, they were more stunned now. The Green Knight twisted and turned in his saddle and cast his emerald gaze on each and every face.
What? Is this Arthur's house? Are these the knights about whom the whole world chatters? Where are the dragon-slaying, grail-seeking, maiden-saving, questing, besting knights of the renowned Round Table? Can they be these boys who will not trade one blow for another?
By heaven, no one here is afraid, merely baffled by your foolish request. Give me your axe, by Mary, and I will grant you the cut that you desire.
The Green Knight that I had sent stepped down from his horse and handed the axe to the king. He stood bare-necked, without the slightest quiver or shiver, and stroked his beard. Arthur swung the axe about, testing it for weight and balance. But before he was ready to deal the blow, there came a voice from the high table.
My worshipful lord, if you will, command me now to rise from this bench and to stand by you there. I do not think it right that you, my lord, should take up this haughty challenge here in your hall. So many of the boldest men on earth sit here all around. I myself am the weakest, and my life counts the least. If I were not your nephew, no one would pay me any regard. To speak to the point, let us risk my neck, not yours."
The leading nobles gathered, and they all advised one and the same that the crowned king should give Sir Gawain this game.
"Let Saint Mary be my witness. I, Sir Gawain, take this axe to strike one blow against the green neck of our guest, according to his own wishes. And 1 year and a day from now, I will accept a similar blow against myself from none other than this same Green Knight."
I thank you for this favour. I incline my head to you, sir, and sweep aside my long flowing hair so that you may take better aim at my nape. Deal your single blow. You will not see me flinch.
"And now, courteous guest, I have granted your strange wish. Your head is parted from your shoulders. You will not, I think, be dealing any blow against me 1 year and a day from now, nor on any day. But what in heaven or hell's name is this? He, headless, stands quite still. Must I believe my eyes? He springs across the floor. His hands reach under the table and among the diner's feet. He picks up his head like a ball. He vaults back up onto his horse. And now the blubbery green lips move. It speaks.
By your honour, do not fail, Sir Gawain, and do not forget. Remember your oath before all these knights seated here. 1 year and a day from now, your quest is to find me. Be sure to ask for the Knight of the Green Chapel. Many men know me. Ask, and you shall not fail to find. On New Year's morning, take your blow as I have just taken mine. It is right and just. Come, or be called coward."
The hooves of his horse clatter out of the hall. The wild man in green is gone. Sir Gawain is speechless. Though all those seated around the hall discuss the marvel they have just witnessed. The king takes Sir Gawain by the arm.
"My noble nephew, hang your axe up on the wall above the high table. In Christmases to come, those who feast here will gaze up at it and remember your wondrous game. Eat and be merry. The year is young."
The year turns hastily on, through lean Lent, burning summer and mellow autumn. At last the calendar reaches All Saints' Day, and Sir Gawain recalls his grim quest. He must set out and seek the blow against his own neck, according to the rules of the game. Little does he know that it was I, Morgan Le Fay, who devised the rules of this sport. And soon I shall see what stuff the man is made of. He says his final goodbyes to the famed knights and ladies of Camelot. Last, but not least, he kneels before Queen Guinevere.
"Gracious Queen, you honour me with your tears, but I cannot share your regrets for the life of your faithful knight. We must all submit to our fate."
Servants set out his armour on a silk carpet. He held up his spiked helmet and kissed it. He stepped into his greaves. His batman buckled him into his breastplate. 5 men lifted him up onto his horse. Over his shoulder he slung his shield, on which was emblazoned in gold his 5-pointed symbol, the sign by which all knew him as the noble Sir Gawain.
"Our Father who art in heaven, I pray that the sacred star of my shield shall guide me and protect my honour. King Solomon devised this everlasting knot. Each point of the perfect pentangle reminds me of my duty. Lead me not into temptation with my 5 senses. Deliver me from sinning with the 5 fingers of my hand. Give me strength from the 5 wounds of your Son, our Saviour. Let me find comfort in the 5 joys of Saint Mary. And let me not waver from the 5 virtues of a true knight: generosity of heart, faith to words, purity of mind and body, courtesy to high and low, and sympathy for those who suffer.
As soon as he had spoken this prayer, he dug his golden spurs into the side of his steed, and its hooves sent sparks flying off the cobbles. He wandered westwards, through dark forests, over high mountains, and across fast-flowing rivers. On his way, he met wild trolls, ogres, bulls, bears, dragons, and all manner of abominable beasts. He dealt with them as a knight should, with his sword and lance when need be. The rain, the sleet, and the snow showed him no pity. His only company was Gringelot, his horse. His only shelter was his armour. But all these sufferings were nothing to him. Still he quested on, until at last, on the eve of Christmas Day, he prayed to Saint Mary for a chapel where he could hear Mass. He crossed himself 3 times, and he came over the brow of the hill and the turrets and battlements of a strong but handsome castle came into view. With hope in his heart, he spurred Gringelot down the grassy slope to the deep moat at the end of the drawbridge.
Good porter, please be my messenger. Go to the noble lord of this house, tell him an errant knight is at his door, and humbly beg shelter.
I believe, by St. Peter, that you will find a welcome within these walls.
The porter was not a bad sort. He returned soon with company to help the guest down from his horse. As he stood in his resplendent armour, knights and squires came out of the halls and knelt before him on the cold ground.
Please, please, noble sirs, there is no need at all to kneel. I am a humble knight, like yourselves, a follower of King Arthur and the Round Table. I come to your land on an errand. I must meet the one who goes by the name of the Knight of the Green Chapel.
As he spoke, the noble lord of the castle stepped out. He was tall, broad and handsome, splendidly dressed in an ermine-lined cloak.
Gracious Sir Gawain, the 5-pointed star on your shield speaks your name. My own is rather less renowned, though it is known well enough around these parts. I am Bertilac. You are most welcome here. Treat everything that is mine as yours. Do with it what you will. My page boys will free you from your armour and bring you fine clothes. Then join us by the fire and warm your limbs. My lords, ladies, see, I hold up my hood on my spear. I offer it as a prize to the one who makes us laugh the most this Christmas. It is the midnight hour. The monks call us to Mass.
Inside the chapel, Sir Gawain kneeled at the pew and asked forgiveness for his sins that Christmas night. When he rose from his prayers, he noticed a lady who had joined the company of women. Although the others were fair, she was far fairer still. She was more beautiful than even Queen Guinevere. So he thought. And leading her by the hand was another lady, though quite different to look at. The one lady was in the ripeness of youth, and the other was old and dry. The one wore bright pearls round her white throat and over her soft breast. The other covered her eyes and hair with a veil and wrapped herself in a cloak. The one had delicate, dewy lips. The others were purple and swollen, but if the young lady commanded respect among those around her, the older still received more.
Good ladies, I am Sir Gawain. Let me be your knight. Allow me to serve you.
You may serve us with your art of conversation. It is not often that we have the pleasure of such courteous company.
My wife longs for the courtly manners of Camelot. Out here in the sticks, we barely know how to hold a knife at the table.
Lady Bertilac, I will do all I can to keep you entertained, but do not over-expect. I am at bottom a man of action, not words.
They spent the Christmas days in laughter, song and feasting. Among the ladies, the oldest, of whom I have spoken, took the place of honour at the table. Lady Bertilac was often at the side of Sir Gawain. They exchanged many glances and many words, though all of them quite proper. She seemed to delight in his conversation, he in her company. In truth, she diverted him from dark thoughts of the blow that he must receive. She made him feel that this short life, though often brutal, had been worth living.
Dear hosts, the last time I rejoiced so much and so freely at Christmas was when I was a boy. I thank you for these delights. But now it is time for me to leave your welcoming roof and to pick up my quest. I have sworn to meet the Knight of the Green Chapel this New Year's morning, and just 3 more days remain for me to seek my destiny.
Leave? I will not hear of it. The chapel of which you speak is a mere 2 miles from here. It makes no sense to leave us so soon. Rest in comfort for 3 more days, and on New Year's morning my servant will guide you to the chapel of the Green Knight.
I would not blame you if you're in a rush to leave. I quite understand if our company bores you. We cannot compete with the ladies of Camelot for refined entertainment, although we do our best to amuse our guests. But, sir, for my sake, if you value me at all, please stay.
When a lady puts it like that, how can a knight refuse? My debt to you both, for your welcome is now greater still. I am at your service. I will do whatever you ask.
I will have to think of some little service you can perform.
Since you will do whatever I ask, here's what I suggest. Let's have a little festive fun. In the morning I will set out hunting before dawn. You shall remain here, rest your limbs, and find comfort and amusement within the walls of this castle. In the evening, when I return, I shall give you whatever I have caught while hunting. And if you have gained anything good during the day, you shall give that to me.
A simple exchange. I see no harm in that.
Exactly. Now do I have your word as a knight that, win or lose, you will swap straight and true?
By the holy pentangle on my shield, I swear.
Then let us drink to our bargain.
You have been listening to the first part of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, adapted from the medieval text for Story Nori by Hugh Fraser. The parts of Morgan Le Fay and Lady Bertilac were played by Natasha Gostwick. The parts of the Green Knight and Lord Bertilac were played by Sam Freeman. And the parts of Sir Gawain and King Arthur were played by me, Richard Scott. The second and final part follows shortly. For many more free audio stories, please visit storynori.com. Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, an audio drama by storynori.com with the voices of Natasha Gostwick, Richard Scott and Sam Freeman. Part 2.
Before the cock crowed, the huntsmen and hounds gathered in the courtyard of the castle. They set out noisily for the forest, with many barks and calls on the hunting horn. Wild things trembled when they heard the din. Deer darted along the valley. Soon the hinds were springing this way and that to flee the flying arrows and the greyhounds snapping at their feet. Bertilac galloped ahead of the pack, thrilling to the chase. But in the castle, the handsome head of Sir Gawain lay on his pillow, his strong limbs stretched out between the richly coloured covers of his bed. As the rays of the morning sun fell on his face, he lingered somewhere between sleep and awakening.
I hear the latch on the door rise gently. I feel a soft presence in the room. Do I dream? She parts the curtain of the bed and settles gently down near my feet. I feel her blue eyes gazing on my face. What shall I do? Pretend to sleep on? But better, I think, to find out what brings her here. My Lady Bertilac!
You, Sir Gawain, are my prisoner. You failed to hear me enter. The sentries of your 5 senses were asleep, and now I have taken you by surprise.
Fair lady, I beg for your mercy. But now I pray retreat behind the door so that I may rise and dress, and then I can receive you more properly.
No, indeed, my noble prisoner. You shall not rise from your bed. Instead, I shall tuck you in, and I shall sit here and talk pleasantly with the knight whom I have caught.
It is my pleasure to be held captive by one so lovely.
Lucky will be the one who marries you. If a woman lived 7 lifetimes, it would be hard to find a husband more handsome, noble, and pleasant.
Then you are the more fortunate, because you have already chosen a husband who is better than me in every respect.
But I am no longer sure that you are a true knight. For would not a true knight seek at least a single kiss from a lady?
Very well, my lady. If I will grant you one chaste kiss, will you set me free?
I agree to your terms. In exchange for one kiss, I will release my prisoner. For now. Lady Bertilac held the knight's handsome head in her hands, and her lips gave him a single kiss on the forehead. A moment later she slipped from the room. Sir Gawain arose and dressed, and occupied himself happily until evening, when Bertilac returned from the hunt. The whole household gathered in the great hall to see the cuts of meat, the venison they had prepared for roasting.
Sir Gawain, do you not agree that it is a profitable result for a day's hunting?
It is the finest kill I have seen for many a year.
It is all yours, Sir Gawain. I give it to you freely as we agreed in our pact. And if you have gained anything good today, will you give it to me?
I have indeed won a prize today, but this is all it was.
And Sir Gawain embraced his host and kissed him on the forehead as tenderly as he could manage.
Well, perhaps your gift was the better of the two. Will you tell me where you gained this kiss?
No, sir, I shall not. The rules of our pact do not stipulate that I must give you that information.
Well, thank you for trading so freely. What if we do the same tomorrow? I will go out hunting in the morning, and you rest in the castle. In the evening we shall exchange whatever good we have gained during the day.
It shall be my honour and my pleasure.
They sat that evening eating, drinking, and enjoying their conversation. At the dawning of the next day, Bertilac led the hunt across the fields through the mist. At the edge of the marsh, the hounds caught the scent of a wild boar. A white tusk flashed in the first rays of the sun. The hoary old beast was fenced in by the snarls of the dogs and the spears of the men. He lowered his porcupine head and charged at his tormentors. Arrows flew and ricocheted off his hairy hide. Dogs yelped and men screamed as the fierce pig gashed at them. Back in the castle, the lord's wife slipped once again into the room of Sir Gawain and softly closed the door behind her. I no longer believe that you are truly Sir Gawain as you say you are. You are an impostor.
My Lady Bertilac, I cannot think what I have done to put such doubts into your mind.
Why, it seems strange that a knight, so famed the world over for his manners, grace, and chivalry to women, should have so promptly forgotten the lesson that I taught him yesterday.
I beg your forgiveness. What lesson was that?
Why, don't you recall? The lesson of a kiss?
Dear lady, if it pleases you, it shall be my honour to receive one kiss on the cheek.
Lady Bertilac kissed the knight gently on the cheek and laughingly questioned him about the art of courtly romance. Sir Gawain deftly answered her questions, always with great courtesy, but skilfully denying her the chance to demand any more kisses. Until at last at mid-morning he allowed her just one more kiss, a parting one as is proper. She left him with a loving smile, and he rose and dressed for the day. Meanwhile, Lord Bertilac stood ankle-deep in a cold stream, a sword in his hand. The great wild boar stood higher up the hill, grunting menacingly, its bristles on end. It lowered its head and charged, with its ferocious tusks pointing straight at the knight. There followed a fight in which both rolled over in the stream. It was single combat, man versus pig, tusk against sword. But the boar got the worst of it, and Bertilac, though wounded, held its head up high. All around, the huntsmen blew their horns to celebrate the kill and their master's triumph. That evening, in the castle, Bertilac presented the huge, hairy head and the cuts of pork to Sir Gawain as his gift. And Sir Gawain, according to the rules of the game, gave Bertilac the winnings he had won during his day in the castle.
Ha ha! This is twice as good today. 2 kisses? At this rate you shall be a rich man. I thank you, Sir Gawain, once again for playing so fairly and so honourably. By St. Giles, you are the very best man I know. Now, let us dine and relax, and tomorrow let us play the game of trades a third and final time.
In the morning, after Mass and a quick bite of breakfast, Bertilac mounted his horse and led the hunt over the bright, frosty ground. The hard winter sun rose above the hilltops, and the clouds reached across the skies with long, rosy fingers. The huntsman released the hounds at the edge of the woods, and as the horns blew all around, some of the whippets caught the scent of the fox. The hounds soon caught up, panting hard, and some of the huntsmen caught sight of a fleeting red flash. The fox doubled back, dodged through the hedgerows, paddled across streams, slipped through prickly thickets, slid between narrow rocks, and many times the hounds lost his cunning scent, only to catch it again minutes later, while in the castle our noble knight lay sleeping, resting his strong limbs. The lady of the house dressed herself in her most lovely robe and arranged the pearls over her delicate breast. She trod silently down the corridor and slipped into the room of her sleeping guest. He stirred and groaned, as if he was having some bad dream. She bent low over his head and softly kissed his face.
Lady Bertilac, this is the most pleasant awakening.
And now I will scold you. You are very much to blame if you do not love the lady who has come to you so frankly. It is not courteous for a knight to fend off a woman's advances, as if they were stabs of an enemy. Unless, of course, you love another. Yes, that is the only conclusion I can draw. You do not return my kisses because you carry the picture of a sweetheart in your soul, one who is more beautiful and delightful to your eyes.
I swear a double oath. I have no sweetheart, nor do I intend to have any for now.
That is very painful for me to hear. Now, sir, let us kiss one more time, and I will leave you to your rest.
It will be my great pleasure to receive one more kiss.
There. That is your last kiss. But before I leave you with my broken heart, will you not give me just some little gift? A token of our friendship that has been so proper, something to ease my sorrow. May I take a glove to remember you by?
My glove is nothing special. It is not a fitting gift for a lady.
It will make a fair exchange. I will give you this ring in return. Its jewel is clear and bright and very costly.
I could not accept such a gift.
Very well, I shall leave you.
Goodbye, my lady.
Unless perhaps you will accept something less eye-catching from me. This green belt which I wear around my waist. I would be glad for you to have it as your own. It looks plain enough to the untrained eye, but I will tell you its secret. It was made by the witch Morgan Le Fay, whom you have seen, though you may not have known it was her. She is the revered lady, now old, but once beautiful, who lives under this roof. Long ago, when she was fresh and young, she loved Merlin the wizard, and from him she learned much magic. He or she who wears this magical garter is immune to any weapon. No cut of a sword or an axe can harm the one who wears it. I think it might prove useful to a man of your profession.
No harm from any weapon, you say, my lady?
No harm.
By Saint Mary, I shall gladly accept this gift, and thank you with all my heart.
Here, I unclasp the belt from my waist and place it on the end of your bed. And if you are not afraid, I will step closer and give you one more kiss, the third, and truly the last on this day, and then, upon my word, I shall leave you. But will you make this promise, on your honour as a true knight, that you will say nothing of this gift to my husband?
My lady, you have my word. I shall say nothing of this gift.
With one final kiss, the lady and the knight parted. He rose and placed the green belt among his things. Hope sprang in his heart. He believed that he might yet see the sun set on New Year's Day. When he was dressed, he went directly to chapel, asked to see the priest, and made his confession, though he did not think to mention to the priest anything of his trust in the green belt of Morgan Le Fay. Towards the end of the day, the hunting hounds ran the fox to the ground, and cunning Reynard met a swift end. Bertilac returned to the castle with its mangy red pelt as his trophy.
Good Sir Gawain, this is all I have to show for my day in the saddle, though I must say the hunting was fast and fun. I trust your day has rewarded you better?
I thank you. I have enjoyed a most pleasant day, and I am in the best of spirits. And this evening, I have 3 gifts to offer you.
By Mary, you are fortunate to have found such gifts, provided you struck a good bargain for these 3 kisses.
I believe I did, sir.
And that night, New Year's Eve, there was a great feasting and rejoicing. Sir Gawain spoke and jested merrily with all around, and was careful to give his most special courtesies to Lady Bertilac. Everyone said that they had not seen the knight in such good spirits since he came to the castle, until at last it was time to take their leave, and for Sir Gawain to give his thanks for such a wonderful stay. Guest and host hugged one another and commended each other to Christ. And before he retired to bed, Bertilac appointed a servant to rise at first light and guide Sir Gawain on his way to the Green Chapel to meet his destiny.
My noble sir, if you will grant me my release, I would come no further with you. The Green Chapel, which my lord commanded me to show you, is just over that crag. Climb up, and you shall see it. But if you care for your life, listen to what I suggest. Do not go on. There is a terrible creature who lives there, half man, half beast. The Knight of the Green Chapel, they call him. He deals death to all who cross his path. No poor man, no priest, no lord has ever survived an encounter with him. Go further and you go to your doom. Instead, if you have good sense, follow the track in the other direction. It will lead you far away from here. I will not tell a single soul that you depart from your dark plan. I give you my word. I will say to everyone who asks that you rode down freely to the Green Chapel.
Thank you kindly for your well-meaning wishes, but I have sworn an oath that I shall meet the Green Knight on this very morning, and by the 5-pointed star of my shield, I will not break with my word.
Then goodbye, honoured sir. There are many in the castle, among the high-born and the humble, among the noble and the fair, who greatly regret your resolve.
By Mary, this place is ugly and overgrown with weeds. It is a fitting place for a wild man in green to do honour to the devil. This is the chill chapel of ill fortune. It is the most unholy church I ever entered. Why, I believe that dread sound was made in my honour. Let God's will be done. No noise shall frighten me. Where be the master of this place? It is I, Sir Gawain, come to keep my word.
Gawain, you are welcome to my abode. You have timed your visit as a true man should, quite in accord with the pact we made a year and a day ago. Remove your helmet and let us complete our exchange. I will return you the blow that I promised.
I shall stand still and let you strike, but make it a single stroke, for that is all that was sworn to.
And now the fate that I planned was being fulfilled. Sir Gawain inclined his head and showed the flesh on the back of his neck. Then the Green Knight lifted his grim weapon aloft and swung as if he meant to deal him death. But Sir Gawain swayed sideways, and the blade landed in the green moss.
Is this Sir Gawain, famed for his courage? I think not. Would a true knight flinch before death? Did I so much as shiver when you struck my head from my shoulders in the court of King Arthur?
Sir, strike again, and I will not move an inch. Only hurry and get the deed done.
My green man lifted his axe and swung once again with all the might of his great body, but he stopped it just short of the neck of the knight. Sir Gawain stood perfectly still, true to his word.
So, you have found your courage. I stopped short so you could hear my praise and be honoured as a true knight. But these words will be the last that you shall hear, for this time I will strike true.
So strike! The time for games is over.
Since you are in a hurry to depart this world, I will not detain you.
My man swung, and his blade caught the flesh and drew Sir Gawain's red blood from his veins. But the wound was not deep, nor did any serious harm. Feeling the nick on his neck, Sir Gawain knew that his duty was done. He need stand still no longer. His sword was drawn in a trice.
You've had your swing by St. Mary. Our contract is complete. Now stand and fight in a contest that is fair.
Hey, gentle knight. Your anger is understandable, but there is no need for it. Had I wanted to kill you, believe me, the strike of my axe would have done for you. See, now, I put down my weapon and lift my helmet from my head, and I think you shall soon see a face that you know.
Bertilac!
I offered you one playful blow which did you no harm. This good I gave you in return for your truth, for on the first day of your trial you freely and fairly delivered to me one kiss from my lovely wife. The second blow that missed you was also my gift, because on the second day of our bargain you truly surrendered 2 kisses from my wife. My third blow stung you, but did you no great harm. I took this slight cut out of your flesh with justice, for you are wearing something that is mine. The green garter that my wife gave you, and which is now belted around your waist. This you should have surrendered to me, by the rules of our pact.
Oh, by Saint Mary, I see now that I have sinned. I loved my life too dearly and accepted this gift without telling you. I have failed my word. I have been disloyal to my host. I am no worthy knight.
Do not be so harsh on yourself, good sir. I do not think there is another knight in the world who would have passed these tests with such honour. 3 times you have proved yourself a true guest and a faithful knight. How many men, brave and unflinching in battle, are equally strong in the face of womanly beauty? Not many, I say. And of those, how many so deftly and courteously weave their way through such a delicate trap? You are a man apart, I declare. The one true knight.
No, sir. I have failed. And for that I am truly sorry.
The standards you set for yourself are too high. Now return to my walls, where you will be most welcome to stay a little longer.
No, I thank you. My quest is at an end. I must give you your green belt and be on my way.
Keep it. I give it freely. Remember me and my lady by it.
Thank you, sir. May God be with you and your good wife. I will always wear this green garter to remind me of the day I fell short of my duty.
And now my test is at an end. What lessons shall we draw from this tale? Sir Gawain returned to Camelot and related the result of his quest with great shame. The courtiers laughed to learn of how he was tricked, and thought it a good sport. And King Arthur, if he honoured his knightly nephew before, he honoured him thrice as much now. He commanded that every knight of the Round Table should wear a green garter from that time on, in remembrance of the noblest of their number, Sir Gawain. And so, shall we conclude that this noble knight behaved with shame, fun, or honour? And to return to my question, what is it that makes a man? I now have my answer, and I give it to you freely. This is the single word that sums up a man and makes him what he is. Imperfection.
You have been listening to Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, adapted from the medieval text for Story Nori by Hugh Fraser. The parts of Morgan Le Fay and Lady Bertilac were played by Natasha Gostwick, the parts of the Green Knight and Lord Bertilac by Sam Freeman, and the parts of Sir Gawain and King Arthur by me, Richard Scott. For many more free audio stories, please visit storynori.com.